Good day and welcome to our final feature of the month of March. We have been featuring phenomenal women innovators and creatives throughout the month of March because, as we know, 8 March 2021 was International Women's Day. This day is for highlighting achievements that women have attained in the social, cultural, political, and economic spheres. It's also a call to action to accelerate gender parity. So head on over to our social media channels, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and have a look at the different women that we have been featuring, the intellectual property rights that they have gotten protected, and how they've gone about to commercialize the intellectual property and gain value from it. Today, our final feature is none other than Tumelo Tshaya Mashabela. This is a woman who's at the forefront of helping other women to protect their intellectual property rights and to commercialize them. Tumelo is the first Black female patent attorney in South Africa, and she's a businesswoman and entrepreneur. She is the founder of Tshaya Mashabela Attorneys, and she will be giving us more knowledge about intellectual property rights and what you need to know when it comes to intellectual property and commercialization of intellectual property. Thank you for your time, Tumelo.
Thank you, Kutlwano. Actually, thank you for making time to chat to me all the way from France. Bonjour.
Bonjour, madame. Comment ça va? I try. So please tell us about yourself and what it is that you do.
Okay, thanks, Kutlwano. Like you said, I'm a businesswoman and a registered patent attorney. I'm the founder and director at Tshaya Mashabela Attorneys. I'm currently a non-executive director at UJ Invent. UJ Invent is an IP commercialization arm of the University of Johannesburg. I served for 2 5-year terms as an advisory board member for NIPMO. NIPMO is National Intellectual Property Management Office. It is an agency for the Department of Science and Innovation. I was previously appointed as an independent contractor for UNISA, where I was involved in the development of study material for one of their postgraduate diploma in intellectual property management. At Tshaya Mashabela Attorneys is actually a boutique law firm that specializes in intellectual property, commercial law, and corporate law services.
Wow. So you just have your fingers in all these intellectual property pies. And that brings me to my next question, being that what sparked your interest in intellectual property? I mean, you're an engineer by training, right? What made you decide, okay, I'm now going to go into the field of intellectual property?
Okay, yes, I am an engineer. I always say that I'm the bridge between the engineers and the attorneys because I have both qualifications. But to answer your question, I always wanted to be an attorney. I think growing up, I saw a lot of injustices that were happening amongst our people, especially kids. So I always felt that I wanted to be an attorney so that I can assist all these children that were going through quite a lot of problems. However, I think based on my matric results, I guess the next logical course that I had to do was engineering. So then I headed off to UCT and I studied electronic engineering. So when I was at UCT, University of Cape Town, I came across a career in patent law. So I started investigating this career in patent law, only to find out that actually you can combine both your engineering as well as your law degree. So I was very excited because it meant that my engineering degree was not going to go to waste.
So imagine wasting an entire engineering degree.
So what I did, I registered for some elective courses during my final year of study at UCT. Then upon completion, I had to go and work for a defense company. It was more of a work back obligation. They paid for my university fees. So I went and worked as a software engineer at a defense company. And I mean, we all know defense company, defense institutions, this is where creations happen. This is where innovative solutions are being created. So, however, during that period when I was working for the defense company, I was a bit puzzled by the fact that there was literally no discussion with regard to intellectual property or how these solutions are supposed to be protected. And that was very concerning. And it actually made me to revisit my interest in intellectual property. And 18 years later, I'm still involved in the field of intellectual property.
You're giving away your age now. But that being said, you've been in this IP space for quite a long time. And, you know, there must be a lot of interesting innovations and cases that you've prosecuted throughout your career. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you, what is the most interesting case you've prosecuted? Like, if you can just take us step by step through the things that you did for the case, the type of intellectual property, you know. I'm sure your clients won't fight with you and say, oh, so she didn't think that my case was more interesting. You know, they'll understand.
Yeah, I can see that you're trying to put me on the spot, but it's very difficult, honestly, Kupano, to select any particular case that one has been involved in. All that I can tell you is that I've had an opportunity to really deal with quite a number of innovators in South Africa. We do have amazing innovators. I've been involved with innovators from IDZ in East London. And what I liked about those innovators is that whatever solutions that they came up with, it was to address the issues in their particular community. I also had an opportunity to deal with innovators through Innovation Hub, where I am appointed as a mentor to most of the innovators. And I've also worked with innovators that walked, through to our offices. So, like I said, it's very difficult to select any case. And I've also had an opportunity to work with innovators from all walks of life. For example, I've worked with innovators in the fashion industry. I've worked with authors. I've worked with innovators who are in the field of financial investment. I've worked with innovators who are involved in the field of electricity. So I've worked honestly with a number of innovators, and all of them, their cases were amazing. And at our firm at Tshaya Mashabela Attorneys, we pride ourselves in that we partner with our innovators. We hear them, we listen to them, and we ensure that once we have provided them with a service, we leave them with feeling empowered. And that's what we've done with all of our innovators.
Okay, well, you got out of that one. So, having been involved in intellectual property for so long, you must have come across like some pitfalls that these innovators and creatives are prone to. What are some of these pitfalls that you've seen creatives and innovators succumb to, and how can they deal with it should it happen to them?
Okay. One thing that I've noted is that most of our innovators, there is a lack of knowledge in intellectual property. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everyone is supposed to be an expert in IP. However, it is very important as a business owner or a CEO for you to have at least a little bit of knowledge in intellectual property, as well as the value of that intellectual property. Because if you as the CEO or the business owner have knowledge of intellectual property, and then the rest of your team will follow suit and know about IP. So that's the first thing. And because of lack of knowledge about intellectual property, some of them make the assumption that, oh, because we don't have anything patentable, then it means that there is no IP within our business. However, and that is all because of lack of understanding that we have different types of intellectual property rights. Another thing that I have noted is the lack of understanding and appreciating the value in that particular intellectual property. IP, like any other asset, it is an asset. It is a very it is a commercial asset, a very valuable commercial asset, and actually, for me, I would say it's a crucial one. So like any other asset, it can be sold, it can be licensed, it can be bought. So it is very important that as a business owner, you get to understand the value of your intellectual property, and realize that your intellectual property can provide you with a competitive advantage, and it can actually increase the value of your IP. So all of these things, I guess, at the end of the day, is there's still quite a lot of lack of knowledge or lack of understanding of the IP as well as of its value. And I've came across a lot of innovators that once we are done working with them or providing them with a service, then they get to see the value of their IP and they get to benefit commercially from those particular IP assets.
Yeah, that's very, very important. The knowledge of or the awareness of intellectual property rights is important, and also to note that it's not just scientific inventions that get to enjoy intellectual property protection. There are a lot of other things that can be protected by intellectual property. Like you were saying, you worked with people in the fashion industry, people in the creative sphere, authors, like you said. So yes, definitely awareness is very important. So my next question actually ties in with why we have International Women's Day to begin with, to celebrate women's achievements, and to accelerate gender parity in the world. But that's not really what we see in a lot of workspaces. And I wanted to find out, in your experience, do you feel that there's somewhat of a discrimination or a lot of barriers that prevent women from, getting intellectual property rights, or getting their intellectual property rights protected, and also commercializing it? Is there such a barrier for women in IP?
You're correct in that there's still quite a lot of discrimination against women in most of the things in life. IP is not different. And I always remember when I started 18 years ago, I was looking for articles, and one of a senior partner at one of the biggest firms said to me, but how are you going to do it? You have a child and you are married and you're going to study. So how are you going to do it? So,
wow.
Yes, and this happened when I was in an interview. So already you can see that there is already a discrimination against me trying to qualify as a patent attorney. So with regard to innovators, I read somewhere an article that was published by World Intellectual Property WIPO, and which was looking at modern patent filings. And the article mentioned that patent applications that included female inventors were only about 4% at a time in German-speaking countries, and only 10% of the time in the USA, and around 20% in a number of Spanish-speaking countries. Well, Africa was not mentioned, so you can only imagine what is happening in Africa.
Yeah.
So this illustrates to you that there's still few female inventors, female innovators, that are coming up. However, I always say that this stems back to the fact that how many females are involved in the field of STEM. So we do not have a lot of females that are involved in the field of science, technology, and mathematics. and engineering. And as you are aware, most of innovative solutions do come out of people who, or are being created by people who have studied those particular fields.
Yeah.
So we still have a long way, and we need to encourage a lot of females in order for them to pursue a STEM-related qualification, so that we can have more inventors which are female, and then deal with the issue of assisting them with protection and commercialization. So what I'm trying to say is that it's very difficult to be talking about protection and commercialization, yet we don't have enough input. We don't have enough female innovators for us to have kind of discussion. So all I can say is that we need to encourage our girls to to go and study in the field of STEM, and then this will increase or will have a ripple effect with regards to female innovators and the number of patents that have been filed by female inventors, and then these female inventors can then come and protect their IPs and commercialize them.
Yeah, it's really sad, but at least through events such as international or days such as International Women's Day, we can shine a spotlight on these disparities and try and get women on an equal footing, even when it comes to innovation. So that being said, I'm going to ask you to just tell me one thing that you want innovators and creatives to remember. Like, if they forget everything that we've spoken about throughout this whole video, what is the one thing that you would want innovators to remember about intellectual property and commercialization of intellectual property?
You can never ask an attorney to give you one thing.
Well, clearly I can't ask an attorney to give me a straight answer ever.
Maybe you must ask an engineer to give you a straight answer. So
you are
but
both.
Anyway, so I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give you three things. The first thing is that I would like innovators to be aware of is that IP does not refer to a patent. I think a lot of people, or most innovators, are of the view that if I don't have any patentable subject matter, any solution or any technological solution, then we do not have IP. I mean, that's a misconception. And I always say that it is very important for innovators to come to us, Tshaya Mashabela Attorneys. We will sit down with you, we'll listen to you, and we will review and look at your business, so that you can be able to advise you on the various different other types of IP rights that are involved within your business. You might find yourself that you actually have a copyright, and this copyright may be crucial. You might be in the business of creating a source code, and a copyright may be that one important IP right that you need to efficiently manage within your business. So it's very important that to remove that thing that because I don't have a patent, there's no IP within my business. Like I've mentioned, I've dealt with authors. There's no patentable inventions that they are coming up with. However, they are creatives. There is copyright that is involved or it is being created by these authors. The second part is that IP is a tool. IP is a tool that is supposed to be used to support your business objectives. So it is very important that if you're a small business, you need to be asking yourself, how can I use intellectual property in order for me to further my business objectives? For example, let's say your business objective is one of your business objectives is to enter into a market in Botswana or any other country. So you need to be asking yourself, well, how can I use IP to assist me in, fulfilling this particular business objective? And that's how you're supposed to be using IP. It's supposed to be a tool that will assist you in supporting your business objectives. And that's the important message that I would like innovators to get, in that finding a way to use IP in order to support their business objectives. The other part is that, there are different types of commercialization models. A lot of people assume that, once I have this innovative solution, is there anything, they actually ask themselves, is there anything that I can do with it? So what is important is that once you've created IP, it is very important for you to then commercialize that particular IP. I always tell people that if you have a patent and you have a patent certificate and it's sitting there gathering dust, it's pointless. What is important is that how are you going to use that particular IP in order to generate a revenue, in order to generate some benefit for your business? So there are different ways in which you can do this. And this is what we call them commercialization models. The first one could be an assignment of IP. This is where you sell your IP, you change ownership, you no longer own this IP, and you get remunerated through or compensated through a lump sum. You walk away, you no longer own that particular IP. Mm-hmm. The IP is then being owned by an assignee, yes. Another model is what is called a licensing of your IP. This is where you provide somebody with the right to be able to use your IP in exchange for royalty. There are different types of licensing mechanism that you can conclude. We have a sole license, we have a non-exclusive license, we have an exclusive license. So depending on your needs and depending on your objectives, you will then select the appropriate license that you're concluding. The third one is that where you manufacture the product internally within your business and market it and sell it. That's one way of commercializing your IP. Another way is that probably within your business, maybe you are involved in various products. You can then decide to spin out another company that is only going to commercialize this particular product. And you can do that. Another way is that where you can conclude a joint venture with another company. Let's say this company has a market already in Europe. And you can then conclude a joint venture with this company where you are bringing the product and they are bringing marketing resources and or capability, and then you commercialize this IP together. That is also another way that you can commercialize your IP. So there are various ways in which you can use your IP to generate income, and that is very important because at the end of the day, having IP that is just sitting there and you are not generating any benefit from it, it would mean that you have actually wasted money in generating that particular IP.
Mm. Okay, so I got 3 for the price of 1. So to summarize, you want them to remember the fact that intellectual property doesn't pertain to patents alone, that intellectual property can be used as a tool, especially to progress your business goals and objectives. And the third part being that there are different ways of commercializing IP. Okay.
Correct.
Excellent. So as I've mentioned before, we've been doing a few features with women innovators and creatives. And what is apparent when I spoke to these women is the fact that they all agree that you're so dedicated to what you do and, dedicated in ensuring that they protect their intellectual property, that they commercialize it in the right way and actually get compensated for their IP. They say that, you are a feisty lawyer. So can you just tell us where this dedication comes from?
Okay. One thing I must say is that I don't know what feisty, what do they mean by feisty? But anyway,
I'll ask my sources.
I think, Kutlwano, one is able to assist these entrepreneurs and innovators and small business because of passion. I'm very passionate about intellectual property. I am passionate about assisting my clients in using intellectual property to grow their businesses. I always say that I have a keen and genuine interest in seeing my clients' businesses succeed, and while they succeed, in showing them how they can use intellectual property in order for those businesses to succeed. So I always joke and say that I live and eat intellectual property. So I'm passionate about intellectual property, and I'm a strong believer that intellectual property can even assist us with our unemployment unemployment levels, our high unemployment rate, because I think intellectual property is sustainable. Like I said, I'm very passionate in showing the innovators how they can use this intellectual property in order for them to grow their businesses, in order for them to obtain a competitive advantage, and in order for them to grow, the value of their businesses.
Yeah, exactly that. And, one of the clients that I did interview was like, she was almost evangelical in her praise of your passion for helping the creatives and innovators and working with them for their best interest. Because she said that, you stopped her from giving away intellectual property for free, because this is something that comes easily to her. So if someone had asked her to do something, then she'd just be like, oh no, I'll do this. But you were like, no. This is your talent, it's your passion, but you need to make money of it. And she even said, like, this is one of my favorite phrases now, like, use your passion to get your soft life.
I think I know which client you're talking about, but it is true, and I think most of us have seen it, especially with creatives, in that a lot of people are telling creatives that, oh, it's your passion, don't think about money as long as you can get exposure. So with this particular client, she came in, she authored a number of books, and at the beginning it was the transaction that, or the offer that she was being given, was really minimal. However, at the end of the day, after a number of years, we've been able to assist her in being compensated at a very good rate. So she's very happy, and she is telling the truth in that she is now sitting somewhere at a beach enjoying her soft life based on her creation. Because I always tell creatives that, you have created intellectual property, and the fact that somebody is willing to have a conversation with you and propose a transaction and concluding a transaction with you, it means that there is value, they are seeing value. So it's about time that you, as a creative, you also see the value in your intellectual property. And at the end of the day, that's what intellectual property rights are for. They are there to protect, or they are actually there to ensure that creatives are being compensated for the creations of their minds. Mm-hmm. So it is very important for creatives in all sorts of industries that they know that what they have came up with, it is valuable, and they are supposed to be compensated for that particular value.
Amen. Get your soft life, sis. So where can they contact you when they have like any questions or need assistance or services that pertain to intellectual property rights and protection thereof?
Okay, they can call us on 012-942-8710, or send us an email at info@tm-attorneys.africa. Yes, Africa. Or you can find us in various social media platforms: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Our handle is @Tshaya Mashabela Attorneys. You can also find us on our website at www.tm-attorneys.africa.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. And this has been really enlightening. And I would encourage everyone to just go along, watch the video, watch the other videos that we have posted as well. You will learn so much more about intellectual property rights, protection of it, and you'll get to see how other innovators and creatives have commercialized the creations of their minds. So yeah, have a look, and we will see you again, Dumi. I'm hoping that we're going to have more videos that will help create awareness on IP.
Definitely, like you said, IP awareness is our passion. We would love to educate as many innovators and small businesses about IP. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.